In 1985, a unique, one-of-a-kind roller coaster, known as the Space Diver, would open. It would be moved around multiple parks, eventually ending up as one of the worst roller coasters ever created. It would, however, be the first to have a special new aspect that would go on to become one of the most recognizable features in the world of roller coasters.
Riders will be earthbound, but they'll feel like they're flying. When it opens, it will be the only coaster like it in the world. Engineers say Z-Force is the first of a new breed of roller coaster.
Giovanola began in 1888, when Joseph Giovanola founded a small tool and locksmith workshop in Switzerland. Over the next 100 years, the company would evolve to become much more. During the 20th century, Giovanola would produce anything from electrical power stations, bridges, submarines, and many different steel products. Between 1949 until the 1970s, they would become known for their ski lifts and ropeways, which would use a Giovanola gravity clamp that was not only on their own products, but licensed to many other manufacturers. The company would pass down through the Giovanola family throughout the years and branched out to making all kinds of products. That new product for the company in the early 1980s would be roller coasters, becoming a subcontractor for international amusement installations, or as they were better known, Intamin. The first roller coaster they worked on was Vertigorama in Argentina, a double racing roller coaster that was unique. Vertigorama is a ride that is reported to have never opened, as it never received its electrical parts. A few people have claimed throughout the years to have seen it operate for a short period in the 90s, but no proof of this can be found. A coaster urban legend, if you will.
What a kick! Great America! Have the time after time of your life. There's nothing like this. Great America! Have the time after time of your life.
Six Flags had purchased Great America in 1983 from Marriott, rebranding it as Six Flags Great America. Their purchase was off to a rocky start, as shortly after the deal was complete, the park's first generation, 131-foot tall Intamin freefall, named the Edge, stalled at the top of the lift shaft after a cable broke. The attraction's rollback devices failed to stop the car from falling 60 feet to the bottom of the tower, injuring 3 riders. While the ride did reopen with modifications, it severely affected the park's attendance.
The fun begins right here at the Screamin' Delta Demon, Opryland's newest fun ride.
The first Intamin rides subcontracted to Giovanola to open were all bobsled coasters. Six Flags Magic Mountain, Opryland, Six Flags Great Adventure, Efteling, and Cedar Point all received one during 1984 and 85. 1985 would also be the year that a unique new type of roller coaster would open at Six Flags Great America, hoping to bring back the crowds that had been lost from the incident the year before. A team of engineers at Giovanola would be working on a prototype roller coaster known as a Space Diver that had never been seen anywhere else in the world. It would be the first roller coaster to have rows of 4 seats, using a brand new type of track known as box section track. This thicker track would have its running rails connected to a box section spine instead of a circular spine, which was the norm. Designed with the help of Werner Stengel, the Intamin Giovanola prototype was purchased by the Six Flags Park and began installation in 1984.
Riders will be earthbound, but they'll feel like they're flying. This ride prototype was designed and developed in Switzerland and is now being readied for its grand opening at Great America this May.
It would be named Z-Force. And I know what you're all thinking, the obvious reason as to why it was called that, but no. Surprisingly, it was not after the Forward Observation Force attached to the British intelligence in World War II. It was actually because the track sorta looked like a Z. I just want you to know that it goes against every fibre of my being to say Z-Force and not Z-Force throughout this video. It is pronounced Z, though I will be fighting my natural urges and calling it the official name, Z-Force.
The Force is here. The ultimate Force. The world's first and only Z-Coaster. Designed to turn and twist and dive like no other force on Earth. Come ride the Z-Force, only at Six Flags Great America.
After construction was complete using 130 tons of steel, with 67 foundations requiring 900 cubic yards of concrete, the Space Diver, or Hairpin Drop roller coaster, would open on July 10th, 1985 as the only ride of its kind in the world. While advertised as starting you upside down 100 feet above the ground and pulling 3 G-forces of a supersonic jet on an extremely compact coaster, as seen in this amazing presentation here, it never actually had any full inversions. The ride was 86 feet tall and reached speeds of 35 miles per hour. The Giovanola trains would fit 16 people in the unique 4-across cars that would speed down the 1,900 feet of track. These trains would complement the ride's compact layout and unique elements due to allowing a shorter train with 4-across seating, improving the capacity. The trains would feature extremely hard over-the-shoulder harnesses and lap bars to keep riders in place. The ride's compactness made it a unique sight, and it would take up very little space in the park. Once reaching the top of the lift hill, the ride would first head straight forward before suddenly diving you into the structure. This continues with multiple hairpin dives throughout the experience and ends with a 540-degree upwards helix. The quick, tight drops, restrictive view trains, and the fact you could not see what was coming ahead created a thrilling experience that any smaller park would be lucky to have a version of. The Space Diver was intended to be mass-produced, however Z-Force would be the only one to ever exist.
Z-Force, it's a roller coaster with a twist, literally. It features 6 vertical dives. Z-Force is of all-steel construction and is more than 7 stories high.
Best about it was the turns, and you couldn't see what was coming up next. Come down those things, my stomach ended up my throat.
Oh, I thought it was great, exciting. I haven't been on a roller coaster since I was 16.
Really?
Really.
What made you go on this?
Intimidation.
This unique tracked ride was a hit, offering a unique experience that had worked to bring people back to the park and increased attendance. While it didn't receive huge acclaim like some rides, people did enjoy it. However, just 3 years after opening, it would be dismantled and moved. It would once again open at Six Flags Over Georgia as Z-Force in 1988.
Move ahead. It's so unique. Don't hesitate. Now rip it good.
New Z-Force. It's not just another ride in the park.
Now rip it good.
Six Flags were known to be big fans of relocating rides to other parks in the chain to create a fresh experience for those visiting said parks. Known as the Six Flags Ride Rotation Program, rather than having to install a brand new ride at each of the many parks in the chains, they would just rotate them around, which was much more cost effective. The downsides of this was that the more times a ride got rotated, the rougher it would get. Each time the ride would be moved, the parks would in fact act like it was a brand new ride. When asked why they decided to move Z-Force, the park stated that it was so popular, they decided to move it to keep it popular at a new location. At Six Flags Over Georgia, it would be the first major coaster added since 1978 when the Mindbender was introduced. When Z-Force was dismantled, each park would be carefully given numbers so that using the illustrations and instructions, it could be put back together as quickly as possible. The ride did remain popular. Z-Force was exactly the same as it was before it moved, now just that slight bit rougher. This time the park stated the ride cost an estimated $5 million, though this was likely the original price when it came to Six Flags Great America. Georgia wouldn't be the ride's final home though. Sadly, a year after opening, in 1989, a young rider died from a seizure on the attraction. The ride was shut down during the investigation and did reopen as the park decided there was nothing wrong with the ride. The news on the unfortunate incident would take a drastic hit on the popularity of the attraction that it would never recover from. It would close in 1991, where once again, it would find not only a new home, but this time, a new name.
I'm reading in the paper that Six Flags Magic Mountain has this new thrill ride called Flashback with 6 hairpin dives that send you totally topsy-turvy. So I call my best friend Mo and we drive up to where all the great rides are, like Viper, Cyclone, Roaring Rapids, and who is standing there but my total heartthrob Veronica. And she says, why don't we ride Flashback together? So we get on and my heart starts racing. We both start screaming and now I can't decide which is more thrilling, Veronica or the Flashback? And I'm left wondering, could I be in love with a roller coaster?
That new location, Six Flags Magic Mountain, already had a ride known as the Z-Force, a looping starship ride. So the new ride for Magic Mountain, this time touting it cost $4 million, will be known as Flashback. Six Flags Magic Mountain's 8th roller coaster and the park's 3rd new coaster in 3 years, opening in April 1992. Originally, rumours stated the ride would be enclosed, but this never happened. It would be located near to the entrance of the park, but after this 3rd relocation, this time, the ride was not popular at all. This 3rd opening had made the ride extremely rough. In 1995, the park added a water park right next to the attraction, known as Hurricane Harbor. After many complaints in the opening year due to noise from the ride, not only distracting the lifeguards, but ruining the water park experience for guests, from 1996 it will remain closed during the water park season. So basically all of the summer. What was supposed to be one of the great roller coasters in the park could not even open during the busy period. The ride's maintenance and upkeep began to get worse and worse, with the rusted track becoming rougher and rougher. There are a good amount of people that will tell you that Flashback at Magic Mountain was one of the worst roller coasters in the world. An extremely painful experience. A roller coaster that caused many bleeding ears. Every single drop smacked you against the hard restraints, no matter how you braced for them. What started as a quirky, unique roller coaster that was planned to be replicated at multiple parks was now a truly horrible experience. Though some argue that it was still worth it due to being completely different to any other coaster. Flashback barely operated over its remaining years, until it was eventually just closed and left abandoned in the park. Standing but not operating from 2003. For 5 years, it would sit rusting away next to the water park, the same one that ultimately ended the ride's operation. The whole time the ride was closed, the official word from the park was that it would be returning as it was only closed for rehabilitation. Reports suggested that it just required new trains or rebuilt trains to reopen. It never did.
Engineers say Z-Force is the first of a new breed of roller coaster. It features the most innovative design in more than a decade. The compact cars and trains provide an all-new sensation of speed and motion.
In 2007, it was removed and sold for scrap, ending not only the life of this specific roller coaster, but placing the unique, one-of-a-kind space diver into the category of extinct roller coaster types. The space it sat on was used to just expand the water park. While the actual ride experience wasn't exactly that exciting, repeating the same trick multiple times, and it wasn't exactly an attractive roller coaster either, the idea of a compact but thrilling roller coaster was solid, an idea that would later be expanded on to create some extremely fun rides, as well as some terrible ones. It wasn't really the ride's fault that it ended up as the rough, painful mess it did. At one point, it was somewhat well received. It was rather the poor maintenance and ride rotation program to blame. Z-Force, we were so close. Z-Force was a unique ride that had potential, but was ultimately ruined. This is a ride that history does not remember fondly. The only way to experience it these days is to play Roller Coaster Tycoon 2. While Flashback became one of the worst roller coasters to ever exist, it would pave the way for many, many better ones. There was one aspect of the ride that was something special, the box-style track. This track would go on to become one of the most recognizable factors on any roller coaster in the world, and it wouldn't be Giovanola or Intamin that it would become known for. On that Giovanola team that had designed the track for the ride in 1985 would be 2 engineers, Claude Mabillard and Walter Bolliger. After Giovanola had a change of management, they would take their design, create a slightly modified version of it to comply with the law, and form their own company, Bolliger and Mabillard, commonly known as B&M. This company would go on to create some of the best roller coasters in the world. Giovanola would carry on also. Those stories are for the next expeditions. Flashback was one of the worst roller coasters ever to exist. A ride sold by Intamin, built by Giovanola, and designed by B&M. Thank you so much for watching this episode of Expedition Theme Park. If you enjoyed it, make sure you subscribe to join the expedition. Follow us on Twitter and Instagram for updates on upcoming episodes, and a special thank you to our Patreons for supporting the channel. We will see you next time.